Well, it is time now for your questions and some honest answers. We're going to start with Mary Ann's question. She says, Pat, my husband is a new Christian. He insists that since Jesus is God and all religions seek God, then the God they worship is Jesus, and therefore all religions will be saved. Please address this. I can understand how he's gotten the wrong answer in this theory, but how can I explain that his conclusion is incorrect?
Well, you can read what Jesus himself had to say, he said, you Samaritans think that you're serving somebody, but salvation is of the Jews. He said that himself. There's really only one way. There's not 100 ways to God. The service of false gods and false religions has been something that's been condemned by the Bible over and over and over again. I was reading today about in the book of Acts where they were talking about how the people began to serve the heavenly hosts. They were worshiping the gods of the stars. I mean, how many gods did they have in Egypt? How many gods? I mean, what is it in the Hindu? 300 million gods?
I think it's 3 million, or it's
3 million.
something crazy like that.
Yeah, all right. Well, whatever, 300, whatever. I mean, how many gods are there? Don't be ridiculous. There are demons all over the world. You don't worship them. There's one way. The Bible makes it very clear. There's one man between God and man. That's the man Jesus. One intercessor, only one. Okay.
Amen. Tanya writes in, I don't think anyone over 50 remembers any school shootings growing up as kids. What they do remember is a school system which started every day with Bible reading, prayer, pledging allegiance to the flag, and a respect for authority. Isn't Jesus the same yesterday, today, and forever? How can we fight to put those values back in the public schools? And she's right. I don't remember any school shootings back then.
We didn't have it in those days, but maybe we ought to do away with the ACLU and the ones that have done everything they can to take religion out of the schools. There has been an onslaught against religious values in the schools that's going on for years. And the fountainhead was what was called Teachers College at Columbia University. And out of that have been thousands and thousands of teachers. But the Supreme Court ruled that you couldn't have prayer in the school. The Supreme Court has done more to destroy the moral fabric of our nation. I know it. You want to honor the court and all that stuff. That's great. But they have done terrible things to the moral fabric of this nation. And you were right when you pointed out. Okay.
All right. Vicki says, lately I've been disturbed by some errors that have come from the pulpit of my church. One pastor says when Jesus was on earth, he was not God, but showed us what it looks like for a man to be in right relationship with God, so we could learn how to do miracles like he did. Another pastor says he rarely sins and can go a week without sinning. A visiting evangelist told us Jesus is still a 5'8" Jewish man living in heaven. Our pastors are not accessible for questions. By continuing in this church, am I in agreement with what they teach?
I think you ought to find, there are many churches, you ought to find another one. I mean, that thing is just full of, they're shot through with error, one after the other. They're erroneous, and you don't want to be subjecting yourself and your children to erroneous teaching. So you asked me what to do, I'd look someplace else, because there are plenty of opportunities for you to find an alternate, and you don't have to sit under false teaching.